And of course, I've got the in the journals, I've got all my tiny dungeon rules that I had in Fantasy Grounds to quickly, you know, remember how to do all these things. Even though it's a very simple, minimalistic system. Spells list, martial arts disciplines, quick information sheet of what everything is, the traits list, and what the traits do to help, players. And these can be shared with players, help them, create their characters. Also able to port over all my tables. If you want to generate a piece of food, you could roll it on the all food table. It's going to randomize through the entries and give you a entry. And in this case, it's displaying only to the GM in chat. I could set it toward display to everybody. These are currently just displaying to the GM's chat what you got. And this is a link that I can get the item sheet from. And I can also drag this to as a link. So you can drag that link straight into here, and now he's got 3 uses of edible roots, which is a ration. He's got 3 meals worth of edible roots. Now this if that was what you were going for, I've got foraged, which is typically where this would be used. Say you were in a barren or desert situation and you said, okay, my character is going to go out and forage for 2 hours. Your GM would say, all right, well, let's see what you found. And he'd say, okay, you found some eggs. And then based on how long you were searching or what your skill levels were, he would decide how he'd say, well, you searched for 2 hours. There's a lot of bird activity in this area. We'll say that you found 3 meals worth of eggs. And then that's how you would do that. And of course, as you use the meals, they would go down until they eventually disappeared. But I've got all the inland wilderness, near civilization, which is going to include things like domestic pigs, domestic cows, more things you would find around farmed items like corn, things that you'd find more around civilization that you could beg, borrow, or steal. And then you've got your wilderness, shore wilderness, which is seafood and stuff like that. More. I've got generated meals. Say you went to a tavern and you were going to get or a poor you went to stop by a shepherd herder's house and they were going to treat you to dinner and let's see what they would have to eat. Well, it looks like you're going to be eating boiled mushrooms. On the other side, if you went to a fancy restaurant, you'd have your first course of lamb chops and mushroom gravy, and then you might have a couple of main courses depending on how fancy the meal is, and then you'd have some fresh baked bread with that, maybe another side, and some soft buttered rolls, and then there was you'd finish that off with some frosted bread cake. And the GM would roll all that prior to telling you, and then he would tell you the fancy meal that you just ate, just to add a little flavor, pun intended. Got my loot generators just like I had before. In Fantasy Grounds, I was able to do poor, normal, and rich all on the same table. Foundry tables don't have multiple fields, so I had to break them into the treasure generators, step 1, step 2. and then I've got poor, normal, rich, and then OMFG halls, and then they tell you how many rolls to make on the golds table and the things I found in the horde table, and you get more rolls based on how rich the hall is, the horde. So if you killed a couple of rat men and in their camp, it might be a poor haul, and then you roll in here, and it would say you get one roll on the gold table, and you go to the gold table. Gold I found in poor, and then you'd roll on the that, and you would find 9 gold pieces. And if it was gold and things, then you roll on the gold table the number of times it says, then you roll on the random thing I found, and then it's going to roll through all the random generators for loot, items, or weapons, items, potions, scrolls, tomes, and then it's going to give you the thing, which in this case, that one roll is a boar spear. My little cultists are still talking. But that's my treasure generators. These are if you just wanted a random armor or a random item, random weapon, potion, scroll. And you can weight these. As you see, some of them have less of a chance to occur than others do. Actually, the higher the number, the better the chance. Things that are very rare, and each one has a nothing in it just because I'm mean. Like Scroll of Resurrection, it only has a one point chance, so you can weight these to give them less, make them less likely to occur. And then your gem values. When you find a gem, you can roll to see what its value is. That gem would be 12 gold pieces. So you'd add 12 gold pieces to your gold value when you sold that gem. And then if you need heavy weapon specific, light weapon, missile weapon, or a random equipment item, you can generate them in this. And there's generators for them too. So this just rolls through all the categories. And the equipment in here rolls through all the equipment. And this rolls through all the equipment, while the loot one only rolls through items that you want specific for your campaign or for that adventure. So you can remove things easily from it, or you can wait them out so that they didn't appear, or just don't count them if they roll up. And Npc Chatter is controlled through here. This is where you put all their randomized sayings, and it just randomizes through here. And each one has its own things, and it calls it based on the name city guard. So I could have, if I had multiple city guard NPCs, they would all use this city guard thing here unless I change the name. Like a cultist enforcer and a cultist leader would share this list unless I specifically named it cultist leader chatter. As long as I just left it cultist, anyone with cultist in their name would say this chatter. It's pretty handy. Another thing Foundry has that Fantasy Grounds don't have is currently, and if it does, it's not easy to use, is sounds. There's sound effects, as you saw with the locked door. When Jazza went into the cellar full of bones, the creepy music started playing. That was an audible hotspot here. That as she got closer, it got louder. When she left, it got the sound diminished, and it's set to local, so it stays inside the walls of the room. You can have it globally. Say it was a piano in a castle that can be heard in multiple areas of the castle. You could make it global so that it's spread out to other areas. So sounds are really easy to use. Lights, same way, you add them and you can create their distance. You can also make them global if they were exterior lights that weren't, or magical lights that weren't affected by walls. You could make them so they shine through walls, but as these are set locally, they are blocked by walls. And of course you have your doors, just like you would in Fantasy Grounds. Doors, secret doors, one-sided doors, doors that go one way don't go the other way. All that same functionality is here as well. Another cool little module is the time of day module here. And get back to the roof view. The darkness on the map is set to this module currently, and it's set to 12 p.m. so I can advance it at 15. I can set this increment to whatever I want it to be. I got it set at 15 minutes now, but you can advance the day, and as you watch the map, it will start to get dark, and that affects players' vision as well. So they'll then have to start taking out torches or whatever to light their area. As I'll demonstrate the vision. So I can set his dim vision to 30 now. And now he has 30-foot dim vision. Night vision, so to speak. If I set his bright vision, say he had a torch that shined out to 10 feet bright and then 30 feet dim, he would now have this area is lit with a torch, this area is lit with the dimness of it. And then as he moved around, he would tote that around with him. Here are your hotkeys, and there's multiple tiers of them. And there's even modules that expand this. You can have macros that do all kind of crazy things. This is a macro for the weather. Let me show that real quick. I can add weather effects to the map. Well, the leaves you see on here, they're a weather effect. But say I wanted to turn off my leaves and then turn on, well, if I just wanted to rain, I can click this here and it's going to start raining, because this is a macro to start the rain. Turn it off and on. But you could start all kind of effects, and depending on what you set, how thick or dense or whatever it is, you can adjust that in there as well. Alright, let's stop that. And then I've got my normal roll. These are normal rolls without crits. And then I've got my crits, advantage, normal, and disadvantage that you can also hit with, you can hit it 1 through 0 on your keyboard, or you can also click them. And that's really handy. Also, we have our NPCs, which also have their own sheet. Let's take an assassin here, for example. The Npc sheet has 3 tabs. The main, special attacks, and spells and items. It allows you to put in the type name. So if you had an orc, for example, you could have an orc with a shield orc or a spear orc, all in the same sheet. They could have the same type, but name, but you could have different types of the same. You have your hit points, your armor rating. If they have any advantage versus armor or unarmored, you can indicate it here. I only have one language type. You could add more in the notes if you wanted to. Their initiative and save, which are also hot spots, and their initiative here, same as player sheet. This is the one that calculates to the combat tracker. This is just a hot roll for them if you wanted rolling straight from the sheet. You can also just adjust this if you needed to make a advantage roll or normal roll or just or any kind of regular roll for them. These are non-critical. They don't explode. But they do have the standard advantage, normal, and disadvantage on any weapon that they have, and whether they're mastered or not, and whether they do crits. You've got your size, how big they are, their reach, if it's more than 5 feet, senses, either traits, the description, and a place for notes. One thing that's different, their spell and item list, I've combined the spells and the items if they do no spells, like a necromancer or a mage. Also their items, which also have the same activation as players. But NPCs have special attacks instead. Let's find one that has a special attack. Say the giant snake. He would have constrict and poison bite, and it says what that is. It's a normal roll, and he also has all the different types in case you decided to give the snake advantage or a disadvantage for some reason. But normally he'd be normal, a normal roll with no crits, and then you also have your descriptor of what it does here for a quick reference. Let's take a Dracolic Lich. I think he has more. Yes, he has lots more. You can buy Claw, Crushing Blow, Fear Inducing, Necromantic Dead, Raise Dead, Rise Again, Stomp, Tail Swap, and all these have their well, it's listed as the dice instead of the value, but that's the same as that. And then whether they affect or crits. But they have the special attacks, and the special attacks are stored as items here. NPC special attacks and traits with their own fancy cool icons, and these are just dragged into the creature. And then what they do. And one here, Pounce. Pounce is also a martial arts trait, so it can be used both, but it has its own martial art ability and icon as well. But that's the NPC sheets. So, and I'll show you my burden, my baggage sheet here real quick. Let me create one. Say you had a pack mule that you bought to carry all your baggage because you love to pick up all the weapons and armor scattered around from a battle and take it back and sell it. So you hired a pack mule. You would create your pack mule, and you would come in here to the let's see if I can remember where I put these. Let's see. I think I got them under writing. So you hired a donkey and a mule. Alright, so you got your pack mule. You can give him the baggage template, and then you can put what he is. He's a mule. He's owned by the party. Let's say he's owned by let's say he's Jazz's mule. You can put there. If the party uses it, you can just call it party. And any notes, and then you could drag things to him from your items list, just like you would, and it'll accept both. It'll accept baggage. Will accept any kind of good. So. And that's the baggage, and he would just if you needed something off of it, you could subtract it from here and then put it on your character sheet. And then lastly was the loot packages. This is an example of a loot package. To create a loot package, you simply go to the mod section and drop the items in here that you want to add to the character, and then whenever you had an NPC, where's my new NPC? Here we go. Say this was the character that got the loot package. You would drag the loot package onto them, and then it would deploy just like the Adventures Pack did. Boop. And everything from that loot package would be applied. And if there was any money in it, it would be applied into the gold section as well. Now gems or pull downs, you would have to add them manually. I didn't make them an automatic field just because it's easy just to add how many you had. All right. But that's pretty much it for my port of Tiny Dungeon 2nd Edition to Foundry. And if you haven't tried Foundry, I suggest you give it a try. It may not completely replace Fantasy Grounds, and Fantasy Grounds may one day get to the easeability that you get out of Foundry, but I think it fits my purpose primarily for the narrator and his role-playing stories, which there's going to be more of. For that reason alone, I'm happy for my purchase. But I do think it would be easier in many ways to run games in here than it would be in Fantasy Grounds. But I like them both. And like I said, I'm not going to get rid of my Fantasy Grounds. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got something out of it. If you're interested in Tiny Dungeon 2nd Edition, I'll link to the website where you can get their the book for their system, and also a link to Foundry and both Fantasy Grounds as well. So until next time, this open-ended D100 saying have a good day.